It seriously makes me wonder which one am I going to prefer, The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker? Because the two of them, who knows? I reckon the next movie is probably going to be playing damage control for most of this movie, so we'll see. So Star Wars Episode 8, the Last Jedi, the second to last movie in the Skywalker saga ever to be made. But they're probably going to make more Star Wars movies, so let's be honest. This is the last Star Wars movie, second last Star Wars movie for now. Then again, Solo: A Star Wars Story came out after this, but I don't count that as a movie. I just count that as Disney just jizzing all over this fucking franchise. So The Last Jedi picks up literally minutes after the last one left off. Literally minutes. And this is also the movie. This is also the first movie that wasn't directed by J.J. Abrams. It was the first and only movie that was directed by Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson, love him or hate him, he absolutely fucked up this franchise. I swear to God. I won't shit all over this movie. I will say there are plenty of moments in this movie that I like. One of those things being the Rey and Luke dynamic. Those two are actually my favorite part of this movie. Kylo Ren is probably my favorite part. Is probably my second favorite part of this movie. Okay, we'll stick with what I liked at first. Okay, I liked the lesson that was within the whole construction of Luke and Rey's whole dynamic throughout the entire movie. I loved that lesson. It's the whole thing between the hero versus the reality of the situation. Like people will hear stories about a hero, and they will probably make up a whole world around that story, being like, that is the coolest human being ever to be put on the face of the galaxy ever. And then when it comes down to it, that person is not actually what happened. That person is probably scared shitless, doing what he can, and probably just not knowing what he's doing. He's probably just doing whatever, like he's following what he believes, but hopefully he can get something done. He's not trying to make a legacy. He's just trying to do the right thing. At least in that case, he was trying to save his father. And if the time came, then he would defeat the Emperor. Ha! Yeah, the Emperor. Whatever. I don't know. I really don't know what else I liked in this movie. I like John Boyega. I mean, he's a good actor. I don't know. I don't really like what they did with his character in this movie, especially considering he should have at least had like some sort of injury after the last movie. I mean, the last movie, Kylo Ren literally slashed his back open. He should have been either dead or paralyzed. But no, he wakes up and they just. All right, we'll get to my problems with this movie. We'll start with the humor. What the fuck is the humor in this movie? Like, Star Wars movies are not foreign to humor, but this movie like takes the whole concept of humor and just dials it up to here and doesn't drop it. It just stays there the entire fucking time. Like the opening sequence alone tells me exactly what Rian Johnson thinks this movie is probably about, and it's not. It really isn't. Like he just put humor into this franchise, and it was like that is just completely out of place. The opening sequence alone was like. It was Poe. He came up in his little ship, and the entire First Order fleet is just sitting there. And he's sitting there, and he's like, "Yeah, can I talk to Commander Hux? This is Poe Dameron." And then Hux is like, he goes on his whole speech. It was like, you are all going to die. You're all going to be destroyed, and I'm going to shout a lot in this movie. Surrender now. And then he's like, hello? Hello? That's fucking Why? Why did that? No. Oh my god. The fucking humor in this movie. The biggest that would have been fine if they just had done that. If they had stuck with that and just left that, that would have been fine. But they had to go on more humor and topple that on top of each other. Like the biggest cliffhanger probably in the last decade or so in the Rise of Skywalker, in the Force Awakens, where where Rey walks up with the lightsaber and is just holding it there, holding it in front of Luke, and the first thing he does, he picks it up and he's just like, phew, tosses it over his fucking shoulder. It's like, what? Oh my god. Okay. Ryan Johnson, let me tell you something. Like, you obviously haven't seen a Star Wars movie ever, okay? Luke Skywalker lost that fucking lightsaber when his hand was cut off over a cloud city. It was also his father's lightsaber. By all rights, he should never have seen that fucking thing ever again. And yet, here it is in front of his face. And he's not even the least bit curious and says, where the hell did you get this? He just tosses it over his shoulder and is like, fuck off. I don't want to see you. I want nothing to do with you. He didn't even ask once. The only question he actually asked was, where's Han? After Chewie went and busted through the door. That was actually hilarious. Like Rey was knocking on the door and Luke was just like, go away. And then Chewie was like, and he just bust through. He's like, ah! Alright, I'll give him that. That was funny. Like, Chewie's probably been the only part of humor that I've ever liked in the Star Wars franchise ever. Like, there are humorous moments that are sprinkled throughout the rest of the series, but they're never at the compromise of a moment. The compromise of a moment just, if you're gonna compromise a moment, if you're gonna take something away, at least. If you're going to take a dramatic moment away, at least replace it with something that's actually very good. Like something that makes you either laugh so incredibly hard that it just renders the whole thing as well as it's going to do, or don't take it away at all. Just keep it there. Keep the moment. Like if Luke's going to toss his lightsaber over his shoulder, that's not a moment you should have. That just does so much wrong with that one moment, just tossing it over his shoulder. No. Oh, man. That's not even the tip of the iceberg. Like, there is so much humor that is sprinkled throughout this movie. Probably the only character that I believe when it comes to the humor is John Boyega's character. Like, there was a moment when he first meets Rose and he's talking to her and he's like, he's trying to escape on the escape pod, and he's just sort of covering it like this. And then she's just like, you know how many people I've tried to taste with this? Like, people are just trying to escape. How disgraceful. She's like, that's disgraceful. John Boyega is probably the only character, is probably the funniest character with the most charisma in this movie, and they wasted his entire story arc. Alright. So we'll get on to other things that I didn't like in this movie. So we'll talk about wasted potential. Okay, John Boyega and Rose, Finn and Rose. Those two characters just went on an entire side quest that could have been erased from the movie and would have done nothing. I am telling you, nothing. That entire story arc was pointless. So basically what's actually happening in this movie, the First Order is literally chasing the Resistance very slowly through space, and the Resistance can't enter hyperspace to get away from them because the First Order has like a hyperspace tracker or whatever. So they're currently here. First Order's like way over here, and they're slowly moving towards each other. And the First Order. The Resistance is slowly losing people. Like the ships are slowly losing fuel and they're slowly getting destroyed. So they're just on the brink of being destroyed. The First Order's like right here. They can't get any closer because smaller ships, they're faster, whatever. So they have to. So Finn and Rose have to go on a quest to find a way to eradicate to get rid of the hyperspace tracker so that the Resistance can get away and that they can go and recuperate somewhere else. Except everything that they do on that planet, the entire not just the planet, but on Snoke's ship as well, is pointless. You could have taken those two characters out of the movie, and it would have done nothing. Finn could have stayed in his coma for the entire movie. Rose could not have even been introduced, and it wouldn't have done anything. This movie just has so many pointless story arcs that it's just like, why did that happen? Why did that have to happen? Okay, so when they actually go down to when Finn and Rose actually go down to the planet, they're looking for a hacker. They have to find a hacker that hacks that will hack the hyperspace tracker, turn it off so that the First Order can't see, can't see the Resistance fly away and track them through hyperspace. They find that they go down to the planet, and then they go through a whole story arc about war profiteering and animal cruelty. Okay, if you're gonna actually have a relevant, if you're gonna have like a social message throughout your movie, at least make it an actual storyline that is useful and impactful through your movie. Like, you can love the Last Jedi, and you can look at that planet and be like, that planet could have been in something else. It could have been somewhere else in the entire franchise, or not in the franchise at all. It wouldn't have changed a thing. Here's what they did with that planet. They made that planet purely and simply to make a book. That planet exists to sell a book. I've seen that shit. I've actually seen that book. That book exists simply because it was in the movie. They made that to be in the movie. Oh, and those little porg things, like the thing that Chewie was eating, it was like, nah, 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 and all the porgs were just sitting around, just like, you're gonna eat us? Yeah, they're in the movie to sell toys to kids. You know, like the Ewoks. They're in the movie to sell toys to kids, and probably to make a book. Why? What? Why? Like, why? All right, we'll talk a little bit about Rey in this movie. Rey, purely and simply, like in the last movie, I kind of accepted that. Yeah, I accepted the fact that she was a little force sensitive. She kind of knew what she was doing. She kind of knew what she was doing because she was leaning a little bit on the Force, and the Force was like really powerful with her, so that she was able to take on Kylo Ren. Fine, but she goes to like, I have to assume it's been hours, like that she's been with Luke. If not a couple days. She's been down there for a couple days, and Luke has taught her 3 lessons, not one of which had anything to do with lightsabers. Okay, so when she throws down with Snoke's guard, I expect her to get her ass kicked. I don't expect her to win that shit, and yet somehow she is so she's so good with a lightsaber that she knows how to fend them off. Like Kylo Ren, I accepted because Kylo Ren sort of bit off a little more than he could chew, because he wasn't sure, he didn't know that he was able to take on this chick. Like, he didn't even expect this chick to be able to actually fight, and then when she could, she overpowered him because he was not expecting that. Snoke's guard, like, they're trained for anything. You could argue that Kylo Ren is too, but he was taken completely off guard. But when the actual guards are like fighting them, I would expect them to have trouble with Kylo Ren. But when it comes to Rey, they should be able to dispatch her with ease, like complete ease. But no, they're actually struggling to fight her because she's apparently so powerful. She's had 2 days, 3 probably at most, to train that shit. Even Luke took like a week. Actually, how long was that in Empire Strikes Back? Anyway, all right. There's also the part where we apparently learn why Kylo Ren completely snapped and he became Kylo Ren. Because Luke apparently tried to fucking kill him in his bed. Yeah. Okay. So the story about this. All right. Luke goes in. Luke went in to Kylo Ren's like bedroom, tent, whatever, and he read his mind. He saw the fact that he was like, I can see the fact that Snoke has already turned you, and you're about to turn bad. You're already bad. You're lost to me. And not once in this character who looked at Darth Vader and was like, I'm going to save him because I can save him, because there's just that sprinkle of good in his entire person. I can save Darth Vader, but when it comes to my fucking nephew, no. I feel bad now. Oh fuck! I turned my nephew against me. Okay, well now the entire galaxy is fucked. That's that's his nephew. Okay, this dude literally went to his father, almost died to try and save his father, and saved the entire galaxy. Like, he might have had a shit time trying to save his father. He almost turned to the dark side, but he still tried. He went to his father with the intention of turning him back. But when it comes to his nephew, fuck me, nephew. Like, you're only like half my family, so fuck ya. I'm just gonna let you die. Like, I probably held you in my arms when you were a baby and was like, oh, what a cute little baby. I'm gonna strike you down when you were older. Yeah, I'm gonna kill you. And then I'm gonna feel bad about it. Fuck. Oh, man. Like, I'm not gonna actually put all of this blame on Rian Johnson, because Rian Johnson is like, he's a director. He wants to take his own thing with the movie. He wants to do his own thing with the movie. That's fine. I accept that a director is gonna want to do his own thing with a movie, with a franchise, and use his ideas and see where that takes the franchise. But when a director starts a trilogy, but then another director comes in and sort of cuts that shit off, like, your third movie is pretty much going to be fucked. Like, my hopes for the Rise of Skywalker, I hope it's good. I really do. I'm seeing it tonight. I really hope it's good, but I don't think it will be, because it's going to have to play so much damage control for this movie. It's going to have to deal with the fact that Rian Johnson just literally cut off who everybody's fan theories about Rey's parents and Snoke, and they're just going to have to do something with it, like bring in the fucking Emperor. The Emperor is literally in the next movie because Snoke died in this one. That's another one of my like, I just literally mentioned two of my gripes of this movie that everyone has mentioned in every review that I've ever seen with this movie. Every review, everyone was like, what the fuck? Here's my problem with this, right? Snoke dies. Like, he just dies. You could turn around and say, well, the Emperor just died in the Return of the Jedi. Well, no, apparently he's still alive. I doubt it. How is that even going to work anyway? Anyway, so the Emperor dying in Return of the Jedi, that was a mark. That had impact because he was a character. He's someone that we feared. He was somebody that we knew was a big, powerful presence. He was something that we had, that Luke was like, yeah, that's a bad guy. Even Darth Vader was like, yeah, that guy's fucked. That guy's like insane. That guy's just crazy. Like, I respect him. I'm following him because I don't want to die. I don't want to have him just electrocute me. There's Jack Sparrow for you. The Emperor was a fucking presence, but he actually did shit in that series. Especially in the prequel series, like, he was the guy that we knew that he was there, like, he was there, and we just had to avoid him at all costs. But when it came to Snoke, he never actually did anything. He never actually did anything that we give a shit about. Like, in the first one, he was just this big, huge hologram that had no point. Like, it was just there for us to be like, oh, well, who's that? I reckon he's probably some Jedi that Anakin destroyed in, you know, the prequel trilogies. Like Anakin was like, you know, that kid, like he was that kid that Anakin just hacked down, and then he was like, you know what, fuck yeah, I'm gonna become the biggest powerful Darth Emperor thing ever. And literally, in this movie, he turns up twice, does two things, and dies. The first thing he does, he turns up as another hologram thing, and he's just yelling at Hux, and he forces him through the thing, drops him on the ground, and then just sort of tries to crush him with his force. And then he turns up a little bit later, and Kylo Ren's just sort of, well, fuck you. And then he just sort of tries to slash at him, and he just throws him away with a bit of electricity. And then the next time we actually see him, he's in the throne room not at all inspired by the Return of the Jedi throne room at all, and the entire sequence is not just ripped off from the Return of the Jedi at all. See, these kinds of things are why I didn't like Terminator Dark Fate, because they're taking too much from the other ones, and they're not doing really anything new with what they have. They just rehash Return of the Jedi and rehash Empire Strikes Back. Like, Rey doesn't lose her hand, she might as well have. And then there's also Rey's parents. Rey's parents, everybody had the question, well, who the fuck is her parents? Because her parents was something that was a big thing in the original movie, in the seventh movie. Like in the last movie, we were all just like, well, who's Rey's parents? Because it shows like a forced projection of her parents just flying away and just disappearing into the dust, and she's just left on a planet. And it's like, well, who's her parents? And every time she brings up her parents, it's like, well, who's her parents? Like, is Luke her father, or is something like that? But when you completely bait and switch that shit, and it's just like, no, they were just junk traders. They traded you for like drinking money or some shit like that. They went and got high on Tatooine. When you do that, when you say that sort of shit, that just literally backslaps the entire fandom, because we all had it in our minds, like we were all so curious. But it's like the last season of Game of Thrones, right? Where you watch the entire series, you build up your expectations only to have it just drop off the cliff and just leave you going, well, what the fuck just happened? That's that expectation. You had the expectation to have paid off, only to have it like sliced in half and just be like, nah, that's what it is. After rewatching this movie, I mean, I like this movie because it's just like I'm a kid at heart, and I enjoy watching space shit, but my expectations for The Rise of Skywalker aren't high anymore, because like they're gonna have to work their way through all the crap that this one left off, which is barely anything. I anticipate two retcons, one being Rey's parents, the other being the Emperor. I got the Emperor, I'm waiting for Rey's parents. Like, I'm going to watch this movie tonight, and I'm probably going to walk out and be like, ha, ooh, yeah. Yeah, Rey's parents, yeah, Lando's Rey's parents, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and, yeah, mm-hmm. Star Wars. Alright, I'll just rate this movie and be done with it. Alright, this movie is worth watching with some of your attention. Yeah, because you'll get like you're intrigued enough. Like if you've never watched this movie before, you haven't heard any of the reviews before, and you're just watching this movie for the sake of watching this movie, like you've just watched the seventh movie, you're going into this movie, you're gonna be intrigued, but you're also gonna be let down. So, on first viewing, worth watching with most of your attention. If you're watching it like for a second time, only some of your attention. It's best I got. Yay, Star Wars. Whatever. If you like what you see here, please click the subscribe button, hit the like button, put a comment below. Did you like The Last Jedi? Did you hate The Last Jedi? What were you expecting for Rey's parents? And what are you hoping for the next movie? If you have seen the next movie, please don't spoil it for me. I'm seeing it tonight. I'll catch you later.